Tonight, the race to reopen and now the growing backlash. Georgia, less than 48 hours from allowing many to get back into business. New protests against stay-at-home orders, but some business owners saying it's still too dangerous to open their doors. And the striking thing the mayor of Las Vegas said today, the gamble she's urging casinos to make. All of it tonight as doctors and nurses on the front lines sound the alarm.
If we open up too quickly, too soon, too fast, everyone's either going to be in the hospital, in bed for a month like me, or dead.
And just moments ago, what the CDC director said about his warning for the fall. The federal official overseeing the development of a vaccine suddenly out. The concerns he raised about unproven drugs touted by President Trump that he says led to retaliation. Growing fear that many small businesses won't get that desperately needed relief money. What to know if you're applying. The alarming news tonight about coronavirus and pets. The first pet cats in the U.S. testing positive. The new recommendations from the CDC to keep your pets safe. And the hidden crisis as coronavirus dominates hospitals. What to do if you have an emergency not related to COVID-19.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. If they reopen it, will they come? There's strong pushback tonight to efforts to ease coronavirus-related restrictions, some of it coming from the very businesses those changes are aimed at helping. In spite of those vocal protests we've been seeing, calling for a broad reopening, a new Associated Press survey shows Americans are still cautious. Only 12% believe the measures where they live go too far. Twice as many believe limits don't go far enough. And a solid majority believe steps to stop the spread of coronavirus where they live are about right. Our team is ready to go, and Georgia is where we start with Blaine Alexander.
With less than 48 hours until one of the nation's most aggressive reopening measures goes into effect, Georgia is divided. Today, the state hit a new milestone, topping 20,000 confirmed cases. More than 800 have died. Which is why some businesses, like this hair salon, are choosing not to reopen despite the governor's move.
So we're trying to protect our staff, their families, but overall the community.
Bishop Reginald Jackson says he is keeping more than 500 AME churches closed.
I can imagine if these churches were opened on this Sunday, people who have not seen each other in weeks would be hugging and embracing and unknowingly passing on this virus.
But Governor Brian Kemp says the move is crucial for an economy that's reeling. So he's allowing barbershops and salons, movie theaters, dine-in restaurants, bowling alleys and more to reopen in days. Georgia has seen a stunning 1 million unemployment claims filed since March.
We're planning on reopening.
Buddy Blackwell tells us his 60-year-old bowling alley would have added to that number in another month.
My business wouldn't survive. My employees wouldn't have a job.
Now he's sanitizing the building and hoping customers return despite being in a coronavirus hotspot, Albany, Georgia.
We can't hide in fear the rest of our life.
Georgia has not seen a 2-week decline in COVID-19 cases, which White House guidelines recommend before any state moves to reopen. Late tonight, President Trump says he disagrees with the governor's move to reopen now.
I told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree strongly with his decision to open certain facilities.
The governor says all businesses will have to follow safety measures, masks and gloves, staggered shifts, and 6 feet social distance, all but impossible when giving a massage or a haircut.
If there's a way that people can social distance and do those things, then they can do those things. I don't know how, but people are very creative.
Gym owner Mark Martino says he is finding a way to reopen safely.
Will people be able to social distance?
I believe they will be able to. Our machines are spaced out, or actually our staff member will explain that to every member when they come in.
Around the country, Oklahoma will start reopening Friday, and the Las Vegas mayor is urging casinos to reopen.
So you don't believe there should be any social distancing? You don't believe that this is
Of course I believe there should be. Of course.
How do you do that in a casino?
That's up to them to figure out. I don't own a casino.
And in Texas, a return to elective surgery, a tremendous relief for Michael McBride, who's waited more than 2 years for a kidney transplant.
Michael, how crucial is this surgery for you?
Without it.
His wife, Chris, will be his donor. They had been approved 2 weeks before Houston shut down. Their surgery now likely to happen this summer.
It's joyful to know that we are on the way and that this is going to happen.
But tonight, a new reminder of the risk from the virus. Tyson Foods shutting down a plant in Waterloo, Iowa because too many employees were staying home. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Atlanta.
I'm Miguel Almaguer. Tonight, as our nation grapples over how and when to reopen the country, this warning from the director of the CDC: a second wave of the coronavirus outbreak in the fall could be even more difficult than the current national epidemic because it would come at the opening of flu season. Today, the president calling the interview into question, saying the CDC director was misquoted. But many experts believe the virus will surge again.
The issue that I was talking about being more difficult, is that we're going to have two viruses circulating at the same time.
With concern mounting over what will come next, doctors in Santa Clara, California, now confirm the first documented COVID-19 deaths in our country. The first two fatalities now linked to the Bay Area, February 6th and 17th. Weeks earlier than the deadly outbreak at nursing homes in Washington state. The victims had not traveled to China, suggesting community spread well before the first case was recorded by the CDC.
The virus was probably introduced and circulating in our community again far earlier than we had known.
Declaring the virus was perhaps present as early as December, officials now say it may have been a stroke of luck. The San Francisco 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl. If they had, a Bay Area parade like this one in Oakland in 2018 could have fueled the spread.
Here in Los Angeles County, where coronavirus cases could become the leading cause of death, hospitalization and ICU cases are still rising, even as parts of the state reopen for business.
This is the sound of freedom.
With protests across our nation again today, the director of the CDC says the demonstrations are not helpful. Katie Beck is in Richmond.
In Virginia, hundreds of protesters causing gridlock at the Capitol, urging the governor to lift his stay-at-home order so Virginians can get back to work.
Tonight, the calls to reopen the country and the warning the virus may return with a vengeance. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And not to be ignored, some of the important voices in this debate over reopening, doctors and nurses sounding the alarm with some ERs still pushed to the limits. We should warn you, some of the images you're about to see are disturbing. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has our report tonight on the front lines.
Everybody move. At St. Joseph's Hospital in Yonkers, New York.
We do this all day, every day for the last month.
The war has not let up. The Associated Press was granted access to the overwhelmed ER.
It's been a nightmare. We have a volume of sick people like you can't believe. In one shift, I pronounced 6 people dead.
Yeah, move, everybody move.
This is the frantic, ongoing battle to keep patients alive, even as parts of the country push to reopen.
We can't be overconfident until we have some measure of being able to say it's in the past.
Despite the gratitude pouring in, the toll is exhausting, and it's not just physical.
It's hard not to take your work home with you. I sit at home reliving each death, each delay in my head. The statistics tell me that this person's father probably wouldn't have made it no matter what I did. But my heart can't help it.
Dr. Rishi Ratan is a trauma surgeon who works in an ICU in Miami.
Maybe if I put my PPE on faster, maybe if I started another medication instead of the one I did. Maybe if I stayed up one more hour researching the next best treatment for coronavirus, maybe he would have made it. Maybe if I had been better, I wouldn't be standing outside telling a sobbing family that we've lost their loved one. It's hard not to take every death personally as a sign of your failure.
Failure is not what's happening here. Far from it. In so many hospitals, triumph.
I've never been so sick, feeling like you're going to die, wanting to die because you feel so bad.
Megan Harple is a nurse in Louisville, Kentucky, who was desperately sick with coronavirus for 3 weeks.
It really literally felt like my back was breaking in half, like somebody was hitting it with a hammer. Like my bones hurt, like I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything.
She has this message for protesters.
If we open up too quickly, too soon, too fast, everyone's either going to be in the hospital, in bed for a month like me, or dead.
Here in New York, the number of coronavirus cases appears to be declining, but more than 400 New Yorkers are still dying every day.
Yeah, we shudder when we hear those kinds of numbers. All right, Gabe, thank you. And tonight, an extraordinary allegation from the doctor who led the federal agency involved in developing a coronavirus vaccine and is now out of that job. Jeff Bennett at the White House now. Jeff, what do we know?
Lester, Dr. Rick Bright says he was removed from his post after he pressed for a thorough vetting of a coronavirus treatment embraced by President Trump, specifically the drug hydroxychloroquine. Dr. Bright says in a statement obtained by NBC News, "I believe this transfer was in response to my insistence that the government invest the billions of dollars allocated by Congress to address the COVID-19 pandemic into safe and scientifically vetted solutions, and not in drugs, vaccines, and other technologies that lack scientific merit. I'm speaking out because to combat this deadly virus, science, not politics or cronyism, has to lead the way." President Trump spent weeks hyping hydroxychloroquine as a potential coronavirus miracle drug, but a new study of coronavirus patients in VA hospitals found more deaths among those treated with the drug than those treated with standard care. The Department of Health and Human Services did not respond to our request for comment. Lester?
All right, Jeff, thank you. Also breaking tonight, the first known pets to become infected in this country. 2 cats testing positive for the virus. Kristen Dahlgren tonight on what you need to know.
Tonight, the CDC and Department of Agriculture confirming infection in 2 pet cats living in separate areas of New York State. The first pets confirmed to have the novel coronavirus in the U.S. Both cats had minor respiratory illness and are expected to make a full recovery. In the first case, no one in the house had tested positive for COVID-19, while in the second, the cat's owner tested positive first. Experts now believe animals can get the virus from humans, but say there is little risk of humans getting COVID-19 from their pets.
Your biggest concern is definitely people more than pets. And if your pet does have it, you probably gave it to them.
And news late today that 8 lions and tigers at the Bronx Zoo have now tested positive for coronavirus. Earlier this year, a dog infected with the virus died in Hong Kong.
So a lot of people now wondering, how can you tell if your pet is sick and what can you do to keep them safe?
Symptoms in pets are similar to humans, including a cough and runny nose. For now, the CDC says pets should social distance, just like us. Don't let pets interact with people or animals outside the household. Keep cats indoors when possible. Walk dogs on a leash and avoid dog parks or public places. And stay away from them as much as possible if you're sick.
If you do have symptoms of coronavirus, then wear a mask and make sure there's a lot of hand cleaning going on.
Bottom line, treat your pet like any member of your family to keep them safe. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
We'll be right back in just 60 seconds with news for all those small businesses still shut out of relief money, plus the first coronavirus test you can take yourself at home. The House is set to vote tomorrow on that second round of small business relief, but there are concerns that the money still won't go to those who badly need it. Stephanie Ruhle now with what to know if you're applying.
For many small businesses, the $310 billion injection of hope comes with overwhelming fear and uncertainty about whether that's enough to save them.
The government's trying everything they can, but they miss the little guys.
Cecil Durden, who owns Firehouse Auto Repair in North Carolina, was not approved in the first round of the Paycheck Protection Program.
The money was already gone. It was already over.
This time, the government is carving out $60 billion for smaller lenders, hoping to reach the smallest borrowers. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses were squeezed out by larger companies who received millions because of an exception allowing businesses with fewer than 500 employees per location to qualify.
I'm really worried that this money is not going to last long. In fact, it probably will be gone by the end of the week.
Of the nearly 1.7 million loans approved, fewer than 9,000 were in Nevada. Steve Patterson is in Las Vegas.
Off the Strip, much of Las Vegas is a network of small businesses, and so many of them are now struggling. Here in the Arts District, boarded up storefronts are a common sight.
We want our shops down here, our people to survive, try as they might. These people maybe have a month or 2 months reserve.
Many worry that if the stay-at-home order continues much longer, blocks like this may never recover.
Starbucks former CEO Howard Schultz. If this was 1987 and you were starting out, would you make it through?
No, we would not have had the resources or the money
That's why we must step in and help these small businesses. It is incalculable what will happen if these businesses fail.
If you applied last time, you don't need to submit a new application to the same bank. But check to make sure they have all the paperwork they need. And you might have better luck with smaller lenders, so reach out, even if you're a first-time customer. For now, Durden's employees took a pay cut.
They're here with me. You know, they're here. They consider me family. They feel that they need to be by my side.
But money is running low and time is running out. Stephanie Rule, NBC News.
In the search for solutions tonight, new strides in ramping up testing, and soon you may be able to take the test at home. Here's Tom Costello.
With 5,800 COVID-19 cases, Rhode Island is ramping up drive-through diagnostic testing run by CVS Health. Free to anyone who meets CDC criteria for a quick nasal swab test made by Abbott Labs, just given FDA emergency approval. Harvard University says at the current pace, Rhode Island could be the first state to test enough of its population to safely reopen the economy.
We have to get folks back to work safely, which means we have to have rapid, widely accessible, affordable testing for everybody.
Meanwhile, LabCorp is rolling out another FDA emergency-approved test kit for home use. Users FedEx nasal swabs back to LabCorp, results in 2 days. For now, frontline medical workers with symptoms are the priority, but the test could be available to the general public within weeks.
People have symptoms. They don't have to leave their home and take a chance of infecting others, or if they're feeling miserable, to go out into the public to get a test.
California now going beyond CDC guidelines and testing people in high-risk settings regardless of symptoms. While in hard-hit Michigan with 2,700 deaths so far, widespread testing is underway in Detroit. NBC's Morgan Radford is there.
Detroit is now the first city offering free diagnostic testing to all essential workers. That includes people who work at grocery stores, people who are handling food and working at daycare centers. And right now, they're testing 1,000 people a day.
For its part, CVS says its focus is on providing testing in underserved communities in 5 states. It hopes to expand to other states in the coming weeks. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello, thanks. Up next, as coronavirus dominates emergency rooms, where have all the heart attack and stroke patients gone? An alarming new warning tonight. We're back now with a new warning today from the American Heart Association. People appear to be ignoring other serious health emergencies. Here's Stephanie Gosk.
With packed emergency rooms all over the country battling COVID-19, surprising new statistics. Since mid-March, 911 calls for heart attacks are down 25%. Calls for strokes down 20%.
We do believe that people are staying home, not coming to the hospital with their suspected heart attack or stroke, and are suffering the consequences.
Stacy Simpson has been living with heart failure for a decade. After a trip to the hospital last month,
I'm at UM having heart issues. I'm now in isolation.
She's worried about having to return.
People like me that have heart conditions, people that are stroke victims, this is really scary for all of us.
She believes the hospital, instead of helping her, could put her in more danger.
I don't want to die at home because I couldn't get treatment. But additionally, I don't want to go to the hospital, get COVID, and end up dying because I was exposed to it there.
But ERs may be safer than people think.
Hospitals are taking steps to protect patients without the virus, including things like separating them and establishing separate units, in some cases, entire separate emergency rooms.
Here's a reminder of when to seek immediate help. Discomfort in the chest and upper body, shortness of breath, cold sweats, nausea, and lightheadedness are all warning signs for a heart attack. While stroke patients often experience face drooping, arm weakness, and slurred speech, doctors say if you have these symptoms, call 911. At Dr. Joseph Underwood's hospital in New Jersey, heart attacks are down 35%.
The risks to you of having an untreated heart attack or stroke are far greater than the risk to you of contracting COVID at a hospital.
Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Hackensack, New Jersey.
Up next, some astonishing, hopeful signs in this very tough time. Finally, on this 50th anniversary, signs of hope on an Earth Day like no other.
As spring flowers bloom and the sun shines, we know this season of rebirth will be unlike any other. While we stay inside, outside, Mother Nature is thriving. The water in Italy's Venice canals clear. Sheep in Wales roam free as lions in South Africa soak in the sun. And in New Delhi, the skyline is finally visible. The northeast of the U.S., air pollution down 30%. And Los Angeles getting its longest stretch of clean air. So while scientists caution the changes might be temporary, let this be a reminder that we have the power to impact our environment forever. A glimmer of hope in these painful times. You just have to know where to look. We are high.
That is Nightly News. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other.
Once in a lullaby.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.